Next question. How do the Illuminati capture a soul personality to be born on Earth? Well, they do have technology, electromagnetic devices that can actually act as a magnet to pull your soul personality frequency by using the reciprocal energy, and then they can store it in a containment field where you are energetically unable to move out of that containment field. Of course, that's what they'd like you to think. Ultimately, you can never, ever be separated from the God mind within. So as long as you are aware of that and connect to that, you can definitely get out of every situation. And the next question is related to it, and it says, how do the Illuminati capture the energy of a living person or group on Earth, and for what purpose, and how do they use that energy? Well, it's the same answer as the last question. It's electromagnetic frequencies that capture people or groups of people. The purpose depends on what they want. You know, they might need to capture a soul personality because it had lifetime experiences in other lifetimes that they might be able to use for a particular function. Or that person might be a problem and they want to keep them out of a certain situation. It could be a programming function, an experiment. They might want to use a person as a spy. There's so many reasons why they would use a person and for what purpose. A lot of alien groups, for example, manufacture clone bodies, and then they would capture a soul personality, and they would stick that soul personality into that body for whatever purpose they have in mind. It might even be an artificial body, for example, a robot or a cyborg kind of body that then is used for whatever purpose they have in mind. So big question, you know, and there's a lot of possible answers to that, and perhaps I will talk about that in a seminar at some point. Next question here. What is your opinion of Tai Chi? Is it programming like yoga? Well, Tai Chi, yoga, all of the Asian or East Asian physical exercises that we have learned about, for example, these are reptilian exercises. Some of them are actually insect-like. Karate, for example, is based on praying mantis movements. And yes, we are, even here in the West, we have reptilian DNA within us. But these can be used to open up reptilian DNA, and they also can be used for programming. But contrary to all that, Tai Chi and yoga and all these other exercises can be used for helping the body energetically as well. We must remember that these are energetic exercises. They're not really physical. So when you do any of them, like yoga and Tai Chi, you will build up an excess of energy that was really meant for a reptilian-style body, which is very heavy and powerful. So you need to expend that energy in some kind of physical activity so that doesn't burn you up. You know, when you look at people in East Asia, or even anyone who practices yoga or these energetic exercises frequently, they're pretty thin. They're very weak-looking, even though they might be physically or energetically strong. They're very weak-looking, and so you know, they're not going to fight powerful energies. So you need to really expend that. I like, for example, for people when they do these energetic exercises, to then do some kind of weight training exercise or some kind of physical work around their home or yard that they need to do, and that will help in that category. Someone else writes in, what is the mind pattern behind wanting to be the first to accomplish something professionally? Is it so one can perceive the prestige and accolades that go with it? In other words, the first person to do such and such? Why is this important to people? Is it an ego thing? And the answer is yes, it is an ego thing, but it usually comes from being ridiculed in childhood or punished in childhood, and trying to be first all the time is a way to prove a point, to show yourself and others that you are number one and you are important, and they were always wrong about you and putting you down. So when you do feel a need to be first in everything, look at why, go back into your childhood, do that green spiral, do the child within, and see what it is that made you feel like you need to be on top all the time. Next question, and I've heard this one before, and I need to address it, and that is, please comment on how the heart may be the most powerful organ of human body to manifest unconditional love. Many presenters argue that the heart is more powerful than the brain and connected to higher levels. Usually, these organizations promote breathing exercises to increase the power. Well, I'm going to disagree with all of that, and I'm going to say that there's no one organ in the physical body that is any more important than another or more powerful than another. Every single one is important. That's why you have it. The most important thing you have is the mind, and it's where the mind, that's where everything is all centered. The heart is just a symbol of the emotion, a symbol of unconditional love, but only the mind can increase that power. So even though we have chakra systems with specific functions in the heart areas where the emotions are centered, that is not where the most power is. Each one of them is powerful, and we need to look at the mind more than anything else instead of any specific organ. And then a follow-up question to this is, would it make sense to say that the heart is one of the human tools driven by consciousness at hyperspace levels, and that heart power is the manifestation of consciousness in the form of love or other positive/negative forms? And once again, the heart is a manifestation of the mind. The body is just the end result. It can be two-sided, unconditional and conditioned. I can love you unconditionally, or I can love you to death. So both are from the mind pattern. So the heart itself is driven by consciousness, yes, but so is every other part of the body. So we need to get away from that New Age kind of philosophy, where everything is heart and love, light, and peace, because it's just not that way. Next question is, and I think we're coming to the end of our questions here. Next question is, I read in your Q&A a long time ago about someone who wanted to try ayahuasca, and your reply was that it opens you up to the lower astral planes where the reptilians are located. David Icke took this narcotic, this ayahuasca, and he said he had a positive experience where a woman's voice was talking to him about how we are all infinite consciousness. So I'm confused now. How do you know about this drug being dangerous? Well, first of all, you should know David doesn't do that anymore, because we did speak to him about that, and he did not have a pleasant experience. He got sick, he threw up, it was uncomfortable. He really did not like the experience that he had. Hearing voices like that is coming from the astral plane, and very often it can also be related to programming. We have the greatest drug that anyone could ever have, and that's the mind, and that's connected to the God mind within. So you do not need any extraneous or artificial means to connect to a higher self or other information. All you need to do is your hyperspace work. You need to do your oversoul work and connect to the God mind, and then you can accomplish anything. I can tell you that I have studied this extensively. I've spoken to many people, both in North America, South America, and Europe, who have tried ayahuasca, and I'm going to say a good chunk of them, had very bad experiences. Many of them saw reptilians. They felt like they were being held hostage in the astral. They were violently ill, throwing up black liquids, headaches. They were sick for days after. That's not a spiritual experience. That's taking an overdose of a drug that's hurting your body, and people who have taken it for long periods of time really have become ill. So I do not recommend that, or any artificial drug or narcotic, to experience spiritual experiences at all. Use your mind. It is not a good thing. I have also, worked for a time as a developmental specialist in mental health clinics, and I have seen people who have taken these narcotics who've never come back to normal. They have never come back to normal at all. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah, we're getting questions in now from all over the place, even on the And so, hold on a second, please.
Hi.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Next question is, if we do mental work, if suddenly we reach the astral plane, what color do we see? And the person says, normally when I did your technique, I usually get a high feeling and can sometimes feel energy emitting from my head, especially when I do oversoul communication. I can feel I'm releasing all that I don't want up and out of me. I want to know that when you see a symbol and a color, does it appear as an imagination, or are we actually seeing it like a dream version that we are aware of? Kind of a complicated question here, maybe the way it was worded, but let me just go step by step. A color code for the lower astral planes especially is red, and that's why we always see red in satanic rituals, etc. But sometimes we may also see darker yellows, orange, and hot pink, for example. These are all aspects of the astral. In other words, it's very psychedelic in nature when you enter into the astral plane, but red is the predominant. It is better to use an initiation color of royal blue or violet, and you can even use silver and gold when you're doing this kind of work. Imagination is real. You know, really, what is imagination? It's a visualization. So it is part of hyperspace protocol. It's a creative energy from the pineal gland. And as far as it being like a dream version, well, as you know from my dream work, dreams are real. They're just as valid as the waking state, except that perhaps the rules and regulations are different. And remember, since the normal quote-unquote person sleeps 8 hours a day or 1/3 of the day, if you extrapolate that into an average lifetime of 75 years, which is probably even more now, that means you've been asleep 25 years of your life at the end of your life. That's a quarter of a century to be asleep. And so you really need to know what's going on there. And yes, unfortunately, much of the time, when we enter into the dream state, we do enter into the astrals and lower astrals, and that's why very often we'll see dead people